Welcome to the Developer Spotlight on the Full Dive Gaming Podcast. In the Developer Spotlight, we sit down with VR industry professionals. This week, I'm hanging out with Jim Norris, designer over at Soul Assembly, the developer of Drop Dead the Cabin. Jim, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure. And while we're saying thank you, we've got to quickly thank our sponsor, Asterion Products. They make VR stands, mats that keep you in your play space, keep you from punching your children in the face, hopefully. Check them out on Amazon. Full Dive 10 saves you 10% off. I'm excited to have you here. For people who are new to it, haven't heard of the Drop Dead series, do you want to give us a little background on it, the studio, and what you do there?
Sure. So Drop Dead Dual Strike, or the original Drop Dead, has kind of been around since, I think the very first iteration was sort of Gear VR days, so even before the regular headsets. So you remember just tapping the side of your cardboard box or whatever it was you were using. So it's a long-standing kind of IP. It was a real sort of nice entry-level shooter for people back on the Quest 1 and Quest 2 days. You know, it's on rails, really short play sessions, giving people a lot of time to kind of pick their shots and choose what they want to do, and a nice narrative sort of thrown over the top, like a sort of quirky, kind of slapsticky vibe. So Soul Assembly Studio started as a sister studio to Pixel Toys, which was the original creators of Drop Dead, but they wanted to focus a bit more on mobile titles, and there was a core group of people that still wanted to focus on VR, so we kind of started our own little company and took the Drop Dead franchise with us. Nice. And we released Cabin in February, which is kind of the spiritual successor to Drop Dead. So we're pushing things a little bit more. You know, it's free movement. It's definitely a lot harder than Drop Dead. But you do learn and progress as you play through the game and get better. So it was a chance for us to kind of spread out a little bit more and try and push the brand a little bit further. And so give something that either new players or people who had been playing Drop Dead forever, give them a new challenge, but staying within the same kind of brand and true to the ethos of Drop Dead, I guess is my long rambly version of what Drop Dead is.
No, I like that. And you're definitely right. It feels like just an opened up version of it. You open the game and you land in this creepy cabin, and somebody's already obviously living in the zombie apocalypse. They barricade up some of the windows and stuff. But once the zombies come, those barricades don't last long, and it is stressful and it is fast paced.
Yeah. We wanted to up the sort of, player intensity, the requirement of decent aim. You can take everything out with body shots, obviously, but headshots are king. So it's a bit more skill based, I think, than the original Drop Dead. But you do get your bearings pretty quickly, and eventually make your way out of the cabin and off to some of the external test sites as well. All just trying to get out of there.
All just trying to escape. Yeah, and it starts you off with a revolver, which is nice because it's scalable a bit for how difficult it is. So with the revolver, you can choose fully manually reloading. You can choose a little bit simpler to kind of help you through. But a revolver's got 6 shots. So you quickly realize, do I waste half my mag basically taking out a zombie with body shots, or do I get good at headshots? And that takes some skill with the way they move. That was a fun part.
Yeah, and the revolver's like the sort of signature gun of Drop Dead. It's the first gun in every Drop Dead game, so we had to give you the revolver at first. But there's a few other ones in there, and if you play with a friend, you'll find some other kind of sidearms to accompany. But generally speaking, people always fight over the revolver, as I think in the beginning of the game, its curve is quite high, but the pistol does end up overtaking it in the end. So don't sleep on the pistol. I always tell people.
Well, and there's some melee to it too. Kind of tell us what's the basic, what's the game loop? What's your goals in the game? How do you progress in it?
Well, I always tell people it's kind of like Groundhog Day meets Cabin in the Woods with a little bit of Stranger Things vibes over the top of it. So you're kind of plunked down into the middle of this cabin. You don't really know why you're there. Some strange robot starts talking to you and saying, "Thanks for joining the experiment. We hope you have a great time. You're probably going to die." And within a couple of minutes, you've got zombies beating on your windows, trying to get in through the doors. And you sort of figure out you've got this power system that you need to get up and running. Some crazy pilot kind of sees a faint signal, starts communicating with you, says, "Hey, charge up this generator so you can get this beacon going. It's old, and I can use it to triangulate your signal, and I'll come in and pick you up." Sounds simple, right? 15 minutes goes on the clock, but those dang zombies keep messing with the power system, either the generator or the battery. So you're kind of juggling those two while also trying to get as many kills as you can, unlocking doors within the cabin. You can kind of choose which path you want to take first. And then you've got to go venture further away from the cabin to find more fuel to come back and power the generator. So you start out with, 0 stats, but as you play and as you die and are reincarnated, as it were, you'll have there's a meta progression system that will kind of level you up, making things a little bit easier, giving you more health, making your guns do a bit more damage, making the ammo you collect give you a little bit more. So the more you play, the better you get, and eventually you'll hit that sweet spot where you glide through the whole game, you make it to extraction, and then it's just about posting leaderboard scores and competing with your buddies and seeing who can finish the fastest.
So in the game, death is not a game over. Death is part of the process of getting better.
Yeah, it's a way to learn, really, in this. So I guess you could call it a roguelite in certain ways, because you don't really know what guns you're going to get when, or where they're going to be, or where the fuel's going to be from run to run to run. So we change it up a little bit to add some randomization to the game, so each experience is a little bit different. And recently we've done a few updates, and we've added in difficulty modes now. So for those that find even the standard experience a little bit too hard, we've dialed it back a little bit. But if you want even more of a challenge, we've really ramped it up. So make it tougher. And then the last version it's tougher. Also, you don't get any of your meta progression perks. So it's like you're a brand new baby every time, but playing against even harder enemies. So I personally have never beat it on that difficulty, but our QA team can do it.
I bet they can. That would make sense. But I played it single player when I tried it out. I feel like this game feels like it probably shines in multiplayer. Tell me about the differences in the difficulty, the progression, and how it kind of plays in single versus multi.
Well, I think I guess the biggest difference is obviously having a buddy there is huge. And when you die as a solo player, there's no chance to revive. But if you die with a buddy, we have two different ways that you can sort of resurrect them. One, you give them a little high five, because who doesn't love a good high five? Or if you've got a carton of milk, which you can use to drink yourself to heal up, you can walk up to them and actually feed them the milk. We don't actually tell anybody that in the tutorial or anything, but some people have figured it out, and it's quite fun to be able to feed some milk to your buddy to bring him back to life. But I guess the other big one there is, with two people, you've got to manage your ammo a little bit better, and you've got to share and swap, because there's only ever one shotgun and one machine gun in the entire map per playthrough. So if you've got all one ammo for the other, I've got the ammo for the one you've got, we've got to stop and sort of share that as well, while we're in the middle of being rushed by 3 exploders and a fat Pete. So it's a little bit more, I guess, resource management intensive as a 2-player game, but also you've got the benefit of your buddy there. You can send him off to watch the generator while you're watching the batteries, so you can really strategize a lot more and sort of plan out a different way to kind of play as a co-op experience. And we are going to look to try and add a few more players into the mix in future updates as well. We want to see if we can get a few more people in there.
Well, and speaking of future updates, you've got an MR mode that's coming, right? When's that come out? Tell us about what that's like versus the original game.
So that'll be coming out on the 25th of October. And we just released a big patch recently to coincide with the launch of Quest 3 to update the graphics of the cabin. So with this MR mode, it's very different, I guess, but also very much the same. This is a very designer answer to give, but so you got to think about the experience, like designing the experience. We kind of look at it from a central out perspective, because I don't know what your room is going to look like at your house when you want to map that out. So you could go from a 2x2 room to a 15x15. We're talking meters here, not feet. But
so 2x2 feet would have been pretty small.
Yeah, you're just in a broom closet, just slapping zombies. But it's a similar experience. You go through the Quest's kind of room generation feature, which is really slick on the Quest 3. It'll pick a boundary for you. You can put your walls up, you draw windows, draw a couple doors, put a table in, your couch, your sofa. So we've currently mapped things out for the door, the window, your table. And they do know where your sofa is, but we don't draw a special sofa on it, just uses yours. But then all the enemies will interact with the elements that you've mapped out for your room. So they're still trying to get you, but instead of a battery and a fuel generator, there's this big transmission dish outside. So the pilot's still trying to come and get you, and the zombies are hitting this dish, and then you have to play a little mini game that spawns in on your table wherever you decide your table goes. So you're doing this little mini game again while shooting enemies.
Cool.
But it was really fun to design, because because we don't know what every room in the world is going to look like, we have to be sort of really kind of catch-all-y with our design. So, you'll look out a window and we always make sure that the radar dish is within eyesight from a certain angle at the window. We have events that happen to empty walls. Something will come in and smash your wall down. Something might smash your ceiling down a bit later. So it's we got a little weapon spawning rack that shoots up and then will turn and face you in the room, so it kind of follows you around a little bit. So there are all these very interactive pieces attached to your actual room. And honestly, I found that mixed reality almost seems more immersive than virtual reality, just because you're grounded in your own personal space, but there are virtual elements to it. So it's like looking at your room in a completely different way. We're having a lot of fun with mixed reality. I think as a studio, we're gonna keep messing around with it, keep trying out some new things. So we're pretty excited about the Quest 3. It's a pretty powerful device with the depth cameras and a really nice pass through. And there are other devices coming that people have heard about, I'm sure, by now. But yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. So we just wanted to test this technology out ourselves, kind of get grips on it, and we wanted to give something more to the Cabin and Drop Dead community because the fans have all been great. And so we're releasing this update for free. It's we put a lot of time and hard work into it, and we hope people enjoy it. They'll be able to get their hands on it on the 25th of October. So we're pretty pumped to see what people do with their rooms and who gets the best leaderboard score the quickest.
Definitely. I love that because you were talking about the immersiveness of MR versus it. And before MR, I've thought the most immersive VR I have ever tried was when you go to like a zero latency and it's real world locomotion. You're using your own physical legs. But at home, that wasn't really an option with VR. People's rooms aren't big enough. It's too dangerous with objects in them. But now in your game, you're in mixed reality. You're no longer using the joystick to move around. Obviously, you're walking around your own home. It's a total change, I'm sure, to program.
Yeah, it's it definitely comes with some struggles, and you have to make a few sacrifices design wise, and we still want to try and create an experience that people who want to stay seated can enjoy. So we're going to look to add in more accessibility features to the MR mode, but this first crack, we really wanted to take advantage of, as you said, your own body ambulation. Like, I'm moving around my room. This is so cool. But yeah, the other issue that we found is the VR boundaries and MR boundaries kind of are at odds with each other. So we're recently just figuring out that, hey, what happens if somebody makes a really small boundary and their room is bigger than their boundary, which oddly enough, the Quest headsets just kind of do for you automatically. So it's fun to be on the cutting edge, but you find there are issues that pop up that you never knew were going to happen until you start getting live testing and beta testing. And so we're just scrambling at the last minute to make some changes, but it all works great. If you make a nice boundary the size of your room and a room the size of your room, you can get in, add some windows, and you're going to be popping headshots of zombies walking through your neighborhood. It's a lot is fun. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's just fun. I just love it. I love mixed reality. I honestly think it's the most immersive XR experience that is out there at the moment. So
I'm surprised by it too, because a lot of people, when the Quest 3 was coming, were like, I don't care about MR. I just want to know the VR side of it. It's like, and I always tell them, you may not, but try it. When you
try it out,
because you may suddenly find that it's way better than you expected, and all of a sudden you're not worried about crashing into your couch, crashing into your desk. You see the real world, and with what you're doing in your game, it makes a lot of sense. Because the problem with a couple MR games that I've tried is it put in a door in the wrong spot, it put in a window in the wrong spot, and you're letting people map those because it's a little immersion breaking if it puts a window and it's not where your window is, or a door is in your hallway. Being able to set it up to your actual space is what you really want to do. And that's how I'm going to be demoing the Quest to people moving forward, is games like yours, where I can set up an MR experience, have it ready for them, hand them the headset, and they just go, how is this hat working? Like, they didn't have to set up. They don't have to know. And that's the magic of it.
Yeah. I mean, we had to make some choices. Like, we do force players to have one door, one window, one table, just because we deemed those critical to the experience. If you don't put any doors or windows up, then
nothing's going to happen.
No one's coming into your room, So, well, until round 3, but it's better to have the other ones going. So yeah, we've done a few things like, restricting it and saying you've got to put these in. So if you unfortunately don't have a window in your room, if you just live in a closet or something, we'll still make you put a window on there. But then you have, all of a sudden, you've got a portal into a new world, and your door is your actual door, and you have zombies beating on it. it's a lot of fun. And I think Meta are going to add more features. We're going to keep watching those and trying to fold those back into this mode as we go forward. And it's just really exciting to be working on something that no one else has really worked on before. So, so far it's going really well. I'm just super excited for people to play.
Yeah, you are completely on the cutting edge, which is really exciting. And you touched a little bit on what the limits kind of are. I was curious. So with MR, obviously Quest 2 when it launched was not what the Quest 2 is now. Tons of updates have come. We've gotten better refresh rates and hand tracking has improved. So I imagine Quest 3 is going to improve over time. But right now, what can you actually get away with? Like if I was in a little cabin with 2 rooms, can I program this thing to be that cabin, or is it one solid stationary room I'm in? How does that work?
Well, you can't. I mean, you can map out. I think I mapped out our entire office the other day. It will let you make a room as big as you can possibly. I mean, I don't know what the upper limit on a room is. Now, again, the limitation here is that you still have to set up your own VR boundary. And your VR boundary is kind of limited to about a 10 meter squared area, I would say. So as long as your cabin is the size of a boundary, then you can map it 1-to-1 with the room. We'll start seeing some issues where people make a room and their boundary only covers half of it. And then you try to walk to the other side of the room and it'll, cut you off because of the boundary. So I imagine something will be discovered or some agreements will be struck and we'll be able to get a bit more freedom with some of that. But it's also a safety concern, Some of these virtual objects, like how do I explain this on a podcast? If I put a door on a door and somebody walks and pass through in front of that door, they're gone. Like you don't see them anymore because you're just seeing the door. So we're trying to keep an eye on that too, make sure our experiences are safe. But if you go out and do a nice little cabin in the woods that has 4 windows, 2 doors, a nice big sofa, a huge table, some plants, you can map all of that stuff out, and the enemies will react to those objects either by jumping on top of them. We might spawn weapons on them. The enemies will path around them. So the more meta adds in, the more we can incorporate into our game. And yeah, I mean, someday it might even be fully automated where you just flip on a game and you walk around and it knows where a window is, because it doesn't do that right now. It can find your walls quite easily, but the technology doesn't know that's a door, that's a window. It just knows that's a flat surface. This is a flat surface. So I have no doubt that once that technology levels up, the games will also start to level up with it. And it's just exciting all around, to be honest. So yeah, we're enjoying it. We're going to keep updating and adding in all the new goodies as they become available to developers. And so yeah, it's like a passion project, but also a live experiment at the same time for us, really. So it's pretty. We're eager to see what people think about it and ways that they would want to see us improve that we maybe haven't thought of yet. So let us know. Join the Discord.
So there you go. Join the Discord. Tell them what you want. I love that. And your studio's got experience. Like you've developed more than just the Drop Dead series. Is there other games that you've worked on you want to highlight or kind of tell us about?
Well, so I just started there coming up to my 2-year anniversary pretty soon here. So I've been all cabin all the time since I started there. But we released Battle Sister a while back, which is a great Games Workshop shooter where you play one of the Battle Sisters, like an 8-foot tall, just absolute champion of badness. And it's a single player experience with some multiplayer elements to it, but it's a good little single player campaign. And if you love Games Workshop and Warhammer type stuff, it's definitely one to check out. We ported it to Steam recently too. So if PC VR is your thing, you can grab it for that as well. And then obviously our whole Drop Dead franchise, all the old ones have been up-resed and everything for the Quest 3. So if you've just got a Quest 3 and you already have Drop Dead, go give it another play. It looks even better now, performs even better now. And we've got some other stuff in the mix that I can't talk about yet, but we're just having a lot of fun. Our studio's growing. I think we're almost up to 70 people now, and that's about double since I started over a year and a half ago. So yeah, we're going to keep making cool VR stuff, and we hope people keep playing it, obviously, because that's the way we get to keep making it.
Yes. Well, I'm stoked. I'm really excited for the MR side of this too, because I feel like so far Quest 3's got great MR, but I haven't found that one that's like when my friend comes over and has never tried MR, what's the one I'm going to put them in? And I can't wait to try out your mode because it sounds like it's going to set up all the right things. I have a weird living room. So the first Encounters game that comes on the Quest 3, the problem is I have like a wall that stops, and then you can walk around that wall to go to the rest of the place. And so it just kind of sees that as like a solid wall, and it might have things breaking through part of the hallway that aren't quite, it's not quite where it's placed, but I could put a door there instead if it allowed me to, put a door there. And so this seems like this might be the one that's finally like, okay, I can set this up, get it all just right, and then hand someone the headset and just blow their mind.
Yeah. I mean, again, it'll be interesting for us to get an idea of what people do with their room setups, because we've tried as many different things that we can think of. But I always say, as soon as your game goes live, the hours of testing goes from probably 100 to 1,000, all the way up to maybe 1,000,000 hours of testing. If 1,000,000 people buy your game on day one and play it for an hour, you've smashed any sort of testing sort of stratosphere that you could ever think of. So you're going to get things coming back to you that you could never have comprehended. So we'll have to take a look and see. But I think the around the corner one is an interesting conundrum, because sometimes you will map out 2 rooms and there's a wall separating it. And yeah, we can have a door in ours. Maybe some games won't, but that still might mean that something else might spawn in the other room, or zombies might start coming in over there. And all of a sudden you look down your hallway and there's like a mob of them coming your way. So it'll be interesting to see how people play it. I mean, our game will certainly cope with that. But it's things like audio, you might not hear it because it's actually 5 meters away and you won't hear it right away. But again, it's all capable. You make the room and the game will pick up the pieces, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of new stuff will come out of this. If we can auto scan, there's some games that are already doing it where you can walk through multiple rooms at a time and it kind of randomly places things as you're playing it. So these are some really cool ideas and experiences that I've seen. And ours is definitely a good party game. You get your room set up, everybody knows where everything is. You get a pretty clear score at the end of the round, so you can start immediately comparing yourself to your buddies, and you can quickly reset and calibrate in the menus as well. So you got to be careful with that when you're handing headsets around an MR, because it'll just keep it of the height of the original person that turned on the device. So keep your eyes on that. Be safe, I will say about that. But yeah, good way to start the night off right. I think a little couple rounds of cabin MR to get the blood boiling, get the juices flowing, and then just keep playing cabin all night is what I would say. But maybe a few other games too, and try out some other goodies.
I imagine MR mode for now is single player.
Yeah. Right now it is. Safety is a big concern there with 2 people in a headset. And again, like I said, you can see each other until one person passes in front of a virtual object. Now, if we could get avatar support going, that might change some things there. But again, that's another area that isn't perfected yet. You'll see when you go into mixed reality, we have hands in our game, but that's just so you can interact with objects a little bit better. But if you wave your hand in front of your face, you'll kind of see that the avatar hand and your actual pass-through hand are a little bit offset, just because the pass-through camera can't keep up with the actual rendered hands that we've given you, because those are fixed to where the controllers actually are positioned. So things like full body avatar, like virtual avatars in mixed reality, I think we still need to experiment around a little bit with it to get it feeling just right before we release that. But there's also some talk about people being able to come and play in your room in mixed reality. But then again, the problem there is, your couch in your room might not be where the couch is in my room, or vice versa. Maybe if we made an exact replica of each other's rooms, we could play virtually and have the same experience. But I'm sure there's ways to do it, this shared spatial experience. But I think there's still a few things to figure out. I believe even maybe legally sharing your room data with another person is something I'd have to consent to and you'd have to consent to. So it is possible, but I don't think we've figured out a way to just say, yep, we're going to do it. It's going to work great, but it's something we're looking into. Like I said, as soon as more stuff becomes available, as soon as we learn more, we're gonna keep folding that knowledge back into our already released games, because we always be supporting. That's what we like to say.
Yeah,
gotta support the live games.
It's a bright future. I did see an SDK is dropping that is going to try to let people experiment with using the depth sensor, so that like your hand, since it's only 2 feet in front of you, would actually show up in between you and the virtual door that's 8 feet away. Have you touched that at all? Looked at that at all yet?
Not yet, no. But we should definitely get involved with that. So. Yeah, how would that? Well, we can see, like, we've got virtual hands, so we kind of get around that by having a virtual hand. But I think you would still be able to see your hand with the depth sensor in front of a virtual item. It's just if another person steps in front of it. It's a good point, though.
It depends on the game so far. I can tell you, like Demio, how they put the posters on the wall. If you reach your physical hand up, it'll go behind the poster, even the poster's 10 feet away. But your virtual hand will still stay in front. So that's kind of a next step that people are. The Quest 3's been out for 10 days, and here we're talking about like what's next. But they're saying that if they can get your hand in front, your real hand, the immersion there is going to just be out of this world.
Yeah, that shouldn't be too hard because we'll know how far away you are from the actual object. So yeah. Yeah, I guess with the depth sensor, that's something that can definitely be made possible. I think another thing that has probably been tricky for all of us devs who have been working in MR is not all of us had access to the Quest 3 very early.
Very few did, surprisingly. Yeah.
We were lucky to get our hands on a couple, but even then we were well into development by the time we got them. So most of these experiences have been developed on the 2 or the Pro. So to really harness the power of the device, like I think everybody's got some now. We've all rushed out to the store on day one and swooped up a couple of them. And so we'll start to make use of the depth sensors in due time. But I think even just the pass-through being as good as it is and the ease of making your boundaries, the ease of scanning your room and then just quickly adjusting it. I obviously play MR every day, so I can just set up a room in about 5 minutes now and I'm off to the races. So I could come over to my buddy's house, set up a room, fire up the game, and there we go. But yeah, there's always something new, and that's what's great. And they make it really easy for devs to have access to tons of forums and support. And I can reach out to several different technical people at Meta, and they'll point me in the right direction at least. So we'll be keeping our eyes on everything like that.
That's awesome. I love to hear that you're getting the support you need because that hasn't always been the case. I think that we touched on, obviously, Drop Dead the Cabin's the big thing right now. We talked about some of your other games. Make sure people go join your Discord if they want to stay in even closer contact. Is there anything else you want our listeners to know about while we're here that we didn't cover?
Let me see. I mean, it's just, I guess the good one is really if you like our games or if something happens in our games that you don't like if you take a look at all of our reviews and everything, we try and address any issue that anybody has. Like we're a small enough company that we do have the time still to talk to people who buy our games. The best way to get in touch with us is on Discord. We run all sorts of beta tests too. So if you're really dying to get your hands on MR, there might be another beta test coming up soon. Or anything else that we're going to be releasing in the future. We do value our community members that want to get involved and give us feedback. It's invaluable, because we're all gamers and we're all devs and we have opinions. And sometimes when you're working on something you're so close to, like you just, there's something that someone comes in with fresh eyes will see right off the bat and suggest an improvement that we just didn't see, or that we never thought of. So we're trying to grow that community so that we can, not only make games that we love and we're passionate about, but also get the community involved so that their passion can also come over into the games and we can try and incorporate their feedback and some of the stuff they want to see into our titles. So that's it. Just join the Discord, come say hey. We got lots of friendly people there. MR is awesome. If you haven't tried an MR experience yet, get out there and try one. And obviously plugging the cabin, 25th of October, the MR update drops one more time. That's kind of it, really. I mean, yeah, no other final words, I guess. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, that's awesome. We'll make sure, of course, there's going to be links in the description. Get in the Discord. Go check out the game. We'll make sure they're in the show notes, too, for those of you listening on audio. Thank you again so much for coming on. It's been really fun to talk about this.
Yeah, it's been great. I appreciate you making the time for me this early in the morning. What are you going to play right now? What's something that I'd absolutely definitely should have a look at?
I got to get through more of the Quest 3 enhanced games just to see the difference, but I was going through a whole bunch of battery testing this last week because I found some issues actually with different battery packs in the Quest, and it forced me to finally play a bunch of Red Matter 2. And that game, although it's a bit of a walking simulator, there is times in that game where you stop and you just look around and you're like, how is this beautiful on a Quest? It's shocking how good some of the scenes in that game look.
Oh, nice. I loved the first one, but I haven't picked up the second one yet. So maybe if they've made a bunch of improvements on the 3, now might be their best time to go get that.
If you ever tried on the Pro with the foveated rendering, I swear it looks as good on the 3 without it as it did. It is shockingly good looking game. Like it's the one, if you're trying to show someone what can the Quest do with just VR now, how beautiful is it? That's the one. But ultimately it's an interesting game, but it's slow. It's a bit of a walking simulator. It's more of a mind game and thinking about what's happening in puzzles.
Yeah.
And if you want someone to be running and gunning and really having a good time, Drop Dead is probably where it's still at there. But Red Matter will show you just the technical capabilities that the Quest has. has. And that's also probably partially because the game moves slowly. You know, you can get away with higher end graphics. You don't have all these things going on. But yeah, that's definitely where I'm going to be at today. And then, of course, on the 25th, I'm going to be in some MR Drop Dead because I just really want to see more of this MR side.
Nice, man. Well, we can probably get you an early build and hook you up with that too. So we'll let you know. But Red Matter 2, I will definitely go check it out. I love the first one, like I said. So shout out to those guys. That's it for me. I got to go finish moving. So
dang.
That's what I got to do today.
For all of you out there listening, we got to say thank you, of course, coming by the podcast. Remember, if you want to see some of the visuals on screen, see what some of this MR mode looks like, check us out on YouTube. But we're also on every audio platform, including Audible, which is apparently a really big deal. So if you're out there and you're thinking VR, MR, what's it time for? It's time to just dive on in.